But down.
All right, so after finishing up most of the tech cabinet install and making sure we had all the wires running up the back of the refrigerator cabinet, we're ready to start figuring out how to install the fridge. Now, I'm just gonna say a little disclaimer here. This is just the Magic Chef 10.1 cubic feet fridge from Home Depot that lots of people have in their bus conversion. It is not meant to go in RVs. It literally says in the user manual for it, not meant to be in an RV. It's also meant to be freestanding. It's not meant to be built in. We know lots of people that have it for 300 bucks. If it breaks or whatever, like, we can go replace it pretty inexpensively. But we know lots of people that are using these and have been for a long time, and no big deal. We're gonna have all the airflow behind it. So I think that should accommodate the whole, like, it shouldn't be built in thing. Anyway, so that's my disclaimer. It's not made for an RV, but we're doing it. Okay, so with the fridge, the two main things that we wanted to think about was highest priority, how are we going to secure this in the bus so that it doesn't slide around, even just driving on bumpy roads. But most importantly, like if we were to get in an accident or something, we don't want a giant refrigerator flying out at us or our kids in the bus. So we want to make sure it's super secure in there. So first thing we did, and I think we showed you this, I can't remember, on the bottom of the shelf for the tech cabinet, we put an extra piece of wood to sort of act as a brace for the back of the fridge so that, you know, it can't try and like tip up from the back. But the main thing we're going to do is we are going to detach the feet that are bolted up into it from the bottom and use that as a mounting point to bolt through from the bottom, like in our storage bay, up through all the subfloor. And we're gonna put a big honkin' washer like all the way across from up underneath, and we're gonna bolt it up into where those feet are right now. So the first thing we actually wanted to do is, the cool thing about this fridge is it's able to, you can reverse which way the doors open. So when we got it from Home Depot, they opened from this side, from the left, but we wanted it to open from the right. So that was the first thing we did, was we flip-flopped all the hinges. They have instructions in the manual on how to do that. You just kind of move the hinges from here to here, here to here, here to here, all the way through. So it was really pretty simple to do. But because there's a hinge on this side and not on this side, this foot is actually a little bit longer than this foot. But they give you an extra, like they give you the opposite hinge for the bottom. So we're actually going to reuse this. We're gonna cut this part off, and we're gonna reuse that so that when we bolt up from the bottom, everything is flat and level. And then what we're gonna do is, because we need to still have that amount of space, which is about 1 inch, is we're using 1 inch square steel tubing. And we made ourselves like a little template. We practiced just with a piece of wood to get the spacing right for the bolts and to get the spacing right away from the walls in there. And then we cut the tube and drilled holes through it. And then we have these big, huge M8 bolts that are grade 8. Is that right? Am I saying that right? And those are gonna go up through the bottom of the floor, like I said, up through this spacer, and then bolt up into the refrigerator. And so hopefully between holding it down in the back with that piece of wood and completely like bolting it down through a big washer on the bottom and a steel tube and bolting it down really well. Hopefully we won't have any problems with our refrigerator moving. And then if the refrigerator ever needs to be replaced or we ever need to pull it out to access any of those wires back there in the back, then we just go under the bus, pull the bolts out, and we can easily slide the refrigerator out of that space. So that was like the biggest thing we tried to figure out. So we're just about ready. We're gonna paint this obviously so it doesn't rust, and also just so that it kind of disappears. And kind of the bonus is that having this down here on the bottom under here, it's hopefully gonna prevent Legos and, you know, Cheerios and things like that from getting up under the refrigerator and making a mess. So that was sort of the big major thing that we wanted to figure out. But the other thing we wanted to figure out is how are we gonna keep the doors closed while we're driving so that, you know, on bumpy roads, the door doesn't fly out and then food falls out and things break and spill all over the floor. And I know a lot of people use just like the child safety latches that, you know, they just kind of strap around the side like that. And that was originally our plan. That's what we were gonna do. And people have great luck with that. But when we were moving all of these hinges and latches, we realized that left us with the old screw holes from where the hinge was on this side. And it's literally right in between where these two doors are. We can access those screw points. And so Juan went to Ace, to the hardware store, and just found a bunch of bits and pieces and kind of MacGyvered up this cool little thing. It's just threaded rod with this little knobby thing with some nuts, and we're gonna put a rubber washer on the back here. We haven't done that yet, but we're gonna put a rubber washer back here. And literally all we're gonna do then is when we are traveling, when we're actually driving, that just threads right into that screw hole in there, and it just will cinch onto the doors like that. And then, I mean, like literally I can just pull the whole refrigerator. It's not, like that's not going anywhere. And then, you know, and then when we get somewhere, we can just pull that out and we'll just have a place where we keep this. And then the nice thing about doing it this way is then, you know, most of the time, 99% of the time, when we're not driving, if I can get this out of here, you know, we're not gonna have like big latches hanging out on the front of our refrigerator. Just, you know, so this just has to be in when we're driving, and that's it, and then nothing else has to be stuck on the fridge. And we don't have to also leave space for anything on the sides. So those are sort of our two things that we had to figure out, that we think we have figured out. So next step is gonna be drilling holes through the subfloor to start mounting these bolts through, and then we'll get the fridge installed, and then we'll get to have nice cold drinks in the bus while we're working.
Glasses in the fridge cap.
Okay, this is gonna need to come forward just a little.
The fridge need to come forward?
No, I need to move this bar forward a teensy bit, I think. We got that black bar, which is our kind of our big spacer underneath the fridge, in place. And so the next step is to bolt it through in the ceiling, and we made big like 6-inch steel washers for each side that we painted and Now we're gonna start putting these in and tightening those down, and that should secure the refrigerator.
Yep, it's getting there.
A nice big washer will hopefully keep it nice and strong. All right, so we got that all secure and bolted up. I am gonna have to do some little bit of touch-up paint on that black bar. It got scratched up a bit, getting everything maneuvered and finagled in there, but that's what it looks like under there. And then when the door is closed, I mean, you just can't even see that at all, but you could see how it was kind of taking the place of the feet to lift up the fridge. And now it's all in place. Here, I'm gonna come over here. You wanna shake the refrigerator?
Try to get it out.
Shake it.
Yeah,
that
it'll
thing
just shake a little bit.
Is like not gonna come flying out. There's no way that that would
that's good.
come out in an accident. Okay, so now that we have this whole area basically built, kind of our last step for now is just to install all of our face frames. We're gonna hold off on building any of the cabinet doors or the drawer fronts for any of this area until we are closer to being done with the build, just because we don't want to, you know, bang them up walking by as we're carrying things in and out of here for building. So same thing, we're not taking the plastic off the front of the fridge yet until we're done. Just trying to protect our surfaces as much as we can until closer to the end. So for now, just the one thing I wanted to kind of explain about the face frames, because other than that, it's the same as what we did in here. We actually did get smart this time and we used hardwood, not plywood, for our face frames. So this is just poplar. Painting went really smoothly this time because now we have the right paint. We know how to use our spray gun, so painting went really well. But what I wanted to show you was this piece, which is kind of the door jamb for our pocket door. Because this is so wide and it's just resting or being screwed in to this one wall, we needed something to support the other side so when the pocket door closes, it doesn't push on this. So we're just gonna take some pieces of the wood, actually that's the wrong one, and we're gonna put them in up here like this, and then we'll screw this in, and then that'll provide support. We're gonna do that at the top and down at the bottom, and that'll just provide support for this side of that door jamb. But we wanted to leave this little broom closet as open as we could on the inside so it's easier to get things in and out. But we did need some extra support. So that's what we're getting ready to do right now. We're just gonna install these little support pieces, and then we're gonna start screwing in all of our face frame pieces, and then we're gonna call this project done.